Mabrika, Mabrika, Mabrika. Peace, peace, peace to everyone. Hey, I just want to start off saying that I care for you. I care for everyone, everything, man. The universe is beautiful, the multiverse, the uniqueness of every. And I don't, if you don't like me, you don't like my phenotype, you don't like anything about me, it's okay. It's okay. That's your like, you know. But I still care for everyone on the planet, because everyone is living natural. Everyone is of natural nature. Everybody was birthed like I was birthed. You know what I'm saying? Everybody comes from that triple darkness and the fetus in the womb of a particular mother. It's beautiful, beautiful. You know, like I said, the woman is paradise. The woman is the gate to the heavens. You know what I'm saying? Man, hold up, hold up. Let me grab my thing here. Here you go. A Taino symbol. Here, look at that. Taino symbol of the woman, Atabe. See that? See that woman there? See that? That's an ancient symbol from the Tainos, you know. And I'm gonna put it around my neck. Why not? You know, represent that. Yeah, that's what it's about. Well, anyway, let me recap a little bit. We're gonna head up to the root chakra. Remember, like I said, I like to deal with the nine energy center, what they call chakra. Chakra is a word that means wheel in Sanskrit, in the Hindu Sanskrit language. Um, those wheels, because they're wheels, and the wheel turn as energy. I call it energy centers. Uh, Traditionally, with the Hindus and that part of the world, that we've been bombarded with, they deal with seven of those energy. But there are some yogis, some spiritual systems that do practice the nine. I'm about the nine. You know what I'm saying? Because of the number nine, it's the totality of in this galaxy. The number nine is the totality number. It's the completeness. Um, we start off with zero, which is the zero is the axis, right? Because you got zero, which if you know anything about the Quran, they say ahad. You know, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Kul hu Allahu ahad. It doesn't say kul hu Allahu. Kul huwa Allah hu ahad. It doesn't say wahad. Wahad would be one. Ahad is the axis, the kupt, the axis. So you have that in the number graph. You have the zero, and then you have the plus one, plus two. The plus one has a minus one on the other side. So you got plus one, plus two, plus three, and the other side you got minus one, minus two, minus three. And this is algebra 101. You study the number graphs, right? Um, then of course in between the zero and the one, you got subatomic, yeah, well, that goes into a whole different mathematical thing. They're trying to find the that point in through mathematics, through science. They're trying to find that zero unit, that energy source. You know, we're multidimensionals, and we gain that source at zero, which I say is the sun, the circular, the sun. What they're trying to find as much, you know, they're trying to break it down and trying to find that particular theory or algorithm. You know what I'm saying? So they can manipulate it. Because that's what's wrong with a lot of scientific community is the manipulation of natural nature, which I feel that they should just leave it alone. Enjoy your life, leave it alone. Why always try to control things? Then it gets out of your hand and that's it. But anyway, I wanted to go back. So the reason why I mentioned that, because the number nine, after the number nine, you get the 10, which is the one and zero again. The cycle starts all over again. Then you get the number 19. Then again, you get the number 2-0. Okay, the second time, and then 3-0, 4-0, on and on and on. The cycle continues on and on and on. But nine, yeah, it's the highest number. What they call primary number. It's the highest number. And nine has a frequency, a natural nature body that you could take. 2 times 9 is 18, and then 1 and 8 is 9. If you look at this sequence, it goes on and on and on, right? 45, and you're on and on. The timetables of 9. You look at it and you add up those numbers, it's always going to equal 9, because 9 is the completion of all. So that's why I said the energy that we have right now. There are much more energies. There's like 8,000 different energy centers in your body, what they call meridians. It's like many, many, but they narrowed it down for the ones. They narrowed it down to 9 because those are the most important ones, the one that aligns all the other energy points in your body. 9. Um, so also, I want to say this, and I did mention this in my Facebook, that you don't have to spend time activating each one of your wheels of energy. You just have to choose one, because once you activate that one and balance it off, all of the other energies, they get online. They go online. You know what I'm saying? And they fall into order and they activate. So just take one and concentrate on that one. You know, okay? Um, and I call it your body, your system goes online with the multiverse. It goes online. You got a lot of people walking around here offline. They're not activated. They're not balanced. You know what I'm saying? Some people are so much of a consumer taking in. They're not balanced. They overactive or underactive. So, they have to balance that particular area of energy. Once they balance that energy, all of the other ones falls in place. And we're going to demonstrate that. So the first energy that we spoke about was the earth energy. The one underneath you, the one you ground yourself with your feet, with the part of your feet, you can ground yourself, is the one that deal with genetics. Remember, ancestral patterns and genetics. And I'm going to segue into the root energy center. But starting off, what I'll say about the genetics is that when you find your genetic blueprint and you find your ancestral pattern, it's always good to, like, for instance, if you find out that your ancestors came by way, let's say my ancestors, for example, by way of the island of Borinquen, right? I would need to go there to really ground myself, and that area, territory of Maunabo and all that. I would love to go there again. Go to the ocean, to the beach, go to the ground and ground yourself genetically, and you see how enlightenment it becomes, because you're grounding yourself to where your genetics originated at some point. You know what I'm saying? The African in me, when I find out we're in Africa, according to my DNA, it's good to go. It's kind of hard now with this COVID-19, and I think that's part of the whole thing is it disrupted our humanity in a way that now it's going to be a little more difficult to actually explore and seek out these centers within yourself and ground it to your exterior self. Like, for instance, if I wanted to go to Africa, to Sudan, to ground myself, or Ghana, anywhere to ground myself because of my DNA, right? My African DNA, It's difficult now because now they talk, a lot of the airplane, in order to get there, their protocol now has changed. You know what I'm saying? To the point that they're trying to make it, if you haven't had a COVID vaccine, you can't travel. You got to have a certificate, a certificate of vaccination, an ID, that tells you that you can travel now. So it's very more stricter now. It disrupted us in many ways that we can think of. But now, but it's okay. You can ground yourself to your immediate environment because remember, you're leaving DNA traces right now to your environment. Wherever you walk, whatever grounds, whatever territory you at, you're leaving genetic material. They got a study right now that they're able to extract DNA from dirt, and extract DNA data from dirt, genetic data from dirt. Like I said, I got the sources. This is science that's going on right now. Um, and so, the Earth Energy Center, which deals with your genetics and your ancestry, if you balance that one out, everything else falls in place. A good example is that, I love my Yoruba people. I got like my godfather in Yoruba religion, and his sister Michelle. Shout out to you if you ever check this out. I noticed that they are invested and they have learned and they have grown in the connection with that part of their DNA and genetics. And when you do that, it opens up all other, and I've seen it, and it opens up all of the other energy center. So you see the heart center, you see the will center, your sacral center, you see the sacred center, the solar plate, all these centers, and even their multiverse, everything is aligned with that culture because they're cultivating their true nature, their inner nature is being cultivated. So then everything is taken care of. You know what I'm saying? To the point of which I'm going to segue into food, money, and shelter. Everything, you know what I'm saying? It seems to fall in place with that. You know what I'm saying? And that's very, very, very important when you gain your ancestry pattern and your genetic blueprint. When you have that and you build on that foundation and you build on that nature, right? The original nature, the natural nature of your genetics, and you build on that, you cultivate that, then you create what is called culture, the cultivation of nature. Culture, the cultivation of nature. And culture can sustain us in other forms. You have the Chinese culture sustains them. You know what I'm saying? They're able to put up Chinese food, restaurants, or artifacts and shops, and this a culture that they are. It's their culture that they are cultivating. Their nature that they are cultivating. So they created this culture, which in terms is the economics. I was looking at the Happy movie, and it talks about this. Great, great, great documentary. The Happy River is the Nile, what they call the Nile River in Kemet in Sudan area, and how that economically, when they cultivated the nature of that particular area, when they grounded themselves genetically, ancestral, and they work it, the irrigation, the planting, all that sustained the economy for them. Very, very, very important. That's why we have to get in touch, explore, get in touch with our ancestral and our genetic makeup, blueprint, and patterns. Okay, so we can know the nature, cultivate that nature, and keep creating a culture that can sustain us economically. Because things is about to flip, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, food sources are getting ready to shut down because of this COVID-19. If they get their way and they say that this new wave is going to be stronger, new strands of the virus is going to be out here. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to shut down a lot of things down, even down to shutting down the internet. You know, and what you find is people now, which is also very important about ancestral um, blue patterns and the genetic blueprints. Once you get to know that, get to know your culture, get to know your people, get to know the area. This is what's happening again. People are beginning to merge again and get together and form community without government, without any of that. Community of like-minded who share the same nature and start cultivating that nature. Therefore, you're going to see springs of cultural community popping everywhere. That's the future. Again, 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 because it was ancient time and it's back again. You know what I'm saying? That's very important when you get together with like-minded communities are being set out there. You know, the nature of the people. And then it goes into other also nature too, because you have the nature of those that are spiritual, and you can have a little section of those that are spiritual, who happen to be Boricua, those that are spiritual happen to be African, those that are spiritual that happen to be Caucasians, and so the community now is growing in a totally different. We're going online, and those connections are being set. That's the new norm. That's the paradigm. That's where we at right now. Okay. That old system, cabal system, that old system has failed, done with. You're just in the gridlock. You don't see that ahead of you there was an accident, that there's a destruction. You're stuck in traffic. When you get to that point, it says, "Oh man, this the reality hits you and says, man, that system really failed. It's done with." But then there you miss the bus. There's those already ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? And so we got to think about that. And that's how important it is to really ground yourself to that earth energy. And then from there, we're going to segue into the root energy, which deals with food, shelter, and money. Now, this is going to be a two-part, because when we get to the money situations, we're going to have to go into, because that's a trigger word. When people say money, they're thinking about a lot of different things, and they're thinking about themselves and their monetary system that they're under, and how do I gain more money or finance, whatever. So we're going to discuss all that, but we're going to go to the history of money. But first, I want to start off with food. It's a good quote, and I think it was Elijah Muhammad had a book, and it says, "Eat to live, don't live to eat." It's very important when you deal with food, that root chakra. When you deal with food, it's not only you becoming a consumer of bad food. You have to balance that particular energy, has to be fed the right ingredients, the right sources, ingredients. So your diet is very important for that root chakra, because that's the support. That's the one that's going to support all the other centers. And that deals with diet, the right type of diet, the right type of food. I eat in colors. So if you want to concentrate more on that particular root, then you eat like tomatoes. I like apples, tomatoes. Foods that are red peppers are good. So I like to eat foods that are red, natural, holistic food that are red, and that helps. With that particular energy center, because I like eating with colors like that, and it does something to the mind too. But in that particular root energy center, sorry, let me bring this up. In that particular root energy center, it is So it's located at the base of your spine, right? Um, just below the belly button. Now, when you have a sense of accomplishment and peace, that energy happens to be very well balanced because you're not, you don't have to worry about things like with money, safety, or shelter. Okay. Now, um, it's very common that this particular energy could become very overactive, and when it does, it's gonna create anxiety and jitterness. Um, so, in order to balance that particular energy root, right? Let me go back into the food. So, yeah, I got off a little bit of point. I'm sorry about that, but um, in overall, let me go into this. Into overall, um, focusing on your connection to your character and your personality helps with that particular energy center too. Okay, helps you balance it. But now remember about the food, the right type of food, the right type of and this is something that you have to research yourself. There's certain foods that you might be allergic to. There's certain foods, and that's why also this particular energy center too also has a link with your earth center. Because remember, your earth center is about your ancestral pattern and genetic blueprint. Well, guess what? There's certain foods that your genetic, to where you came from, that are more accessible to your body because of the many thousand years that your ancestry was there and eating those type of foods. Okay. In other words, you have to eat for also your genetic blueprint. You know, you can't eat a diet that they eat up in Europe because it's going to have a different effect in your body or certain areas. You know what I'm saying? I like a lot of tropical because of my ancestry. I lean more towards a tropical type of diet because that's culture and that links you up and that helps in a stability and supporting that root chakra. So what you do in the earth chakra helps support your root chakra. All of these, that's what I'm saying, they all align itself. So the more you become invested in finding out the genetic, you're finding about the colors that you put on your body, you're finding about the foods. Most important, and for the sake of this conversation about this particular energy center, is the food for that particular genetic blueprint and your ancestors. Remember, I tell you, my great grandmother loved to make the tamarindo juice and everything. I do that to this day, and I love it. But there are certain foods that you might become allergic to because it doesn't apply, it doesn't fit in with your genetic blueprint. Or it could also mean that your DNA has been altered and mutated because of the other foods and environment and things that you're doing also can mutate that genetic blueprint too. You got to take that into consideration too. But it's safer to say that the diet of your ancestry, the diet of your genetic blueprint helps support and gives you a more healthy, suitable condition diet for the condition of your body and your DNA, your ancestry. Okay. And that's food, you know. So it's very important. Eating colors, find out genetically where you're from, so it works all together. It works all together. And then you see how that root chakra affects also your sacral chakra, which is your sexual organ. It affects that also. So they're connected. You can see the connection between each one of them. You know what I'm saying? So as you go strengthening one of those energy center, all the other ones starts falling in place. You know what I'm saying? They start falling in place all the way up to the star energy center, which is the sun. You know what I'm saying? The multiverse, all the multiple suns. You know, so um, so you know, so we spoke about food and how food affects, and food, that root chakra. And so it's important for you to eat the right things in order to balance more and to work with that particular energy. You know, and just remember that, you know, eat to live. Eat so that you can have a healthy life. Don't just live your life just to eat food and consume. No, you got to eat to live. That's a great axiom. That's a great, you know, so healthy diet, eating colors. You know what I'm saying? Be very cognizant of what you put into your body. You know what I'm saying? Or what you consume. You know what you eat. You know what I'm saying? Food. So we're talking about food, but there's also other types of food. Food for thought. When they talk about food for thought, all of that stuff affects you because remember, all of those centers are connected. You know what I'm saying? So you just, as we go on with this conversation, we'll start exploring those connections and seeing how it works. Now, I wanted to talk about the now money and shelter together because in this day and time, you know, to have the proper shelter and living and shelter in this day and time, you're gonna need a certain amount of finance to achieve that, or a certain amount of you know, monetary currency, you know, apparatus. And I say that, choose that word because we're gonna see how different money has affected us, has affected our genetics, has affected our ancestry patterns and our genetic blueprints, the different forms of how they interpreted currency. Because it's really about currency. And currency happens by way of attention, energy. The energy, the attention you put to that energy and you put it a certain way brings about a currency. And that currency, depending on the 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 system that you're on, it will bring it towards you or it would bring it, take it away from you. You know what I'm saying? And put you in poverty. So we're gonna explore that, you know. I'm just gonna do go into the introduction of that, and then we're gonna in part two we're gonna really dive real deep into that. You know what I'm saying? Talking about trust account, talking about a social security number, trust account, sovereignty, and stuff like that. But let me just tell you briefly about money. There are many forms of money because remember, money is the form of measuring that currency or attention that you have. It's just a measurement. You know what I'm saying? It's like the example I was telling my son is like, you know, I was just interested in playing percussion. The energy, the attention that I put into that and forming my skill, it put me in certain situations in life where I was able to extract monetary gain. You know what I'm saying? If it was playing at Universal or playing with certain bands, monetary gain because that energy, the attention that I put into that particular skill developed it to a point where it be, you know, and like I told this to my son. I said, you know, I remember when I was going to NYU and I was down there. I took a break from class to class, and I sat down at that Washington Square Park because Washington Square Park was the center. Then you had the library, you had the class aside, go class to class. I was sitting there and I was observing this young man, yeah, you know, had an afro, and he was selling weed, you know, and I seen him out there hustling and selling weed. Came to me, you know, I told him, no, I ain't got no money, I don't got no weed. But he told me, yo, where you from? And I said, Puerto Rican, you know. At that time, I was using the word Puerto Rican, but I tell everybody now I'm Boricua. And to be more precise, I'm African Boricua. You know, I carry both genetics. But um, he came to me and said, "Oh man, I'm Ethiopian, but I also lived in Cuba for a while." So he started to speak to me in Spanish. I was like, "Oh wow, got the Cuban swag." I was like, "Oh man," and he was from Ethiopia, and it was selling weed. Then he came and he told me, "Yo, I'm gonna tell you something, bro. Remember this? Oh, he says, I don't chase money. Money chases me. I don't chase after money. I don't chase paper. Paper chases me. And then I thought about that for a while after 11. I thought, and I says, man, that's deep. You know why? Because I see this man, the energy, the attention he had on making that sale, you know what I'm saying, going out and, that sale, doing it, the energy that he had dealing with, hanging around and talking to certain people. Next thing you know, people buying weed from him. And I said, man, look at that. He attracted that monetary form of measurement, which would have been in dollar bills. So, of course, he had a bag on him. He had a whop on him, but it's because he did the work. It's like that. So it's currency. The attention you use for your currency, what you put it to the measurement will be money. Now, money itself, okay, that form of measurement took on many different forms. You had what they call commodity money. And if you read in the biblical narrative, you talk about the prophets or those kings that had sheep, cattle. The more cattle he had grew in cattle, the more land he needed, the more cattle he had, sheep, is the more wealthy that he was. And at one time in Vatican, in England, in Roman time, that you got an office in the Senate or whatever, depending on the amount of commodity you had, land owners, that you had. That's the way it was practiced in many, many, many ancient culture. It's the more you had sheep and cattle, that was a commodity. And then there was a barter with it. Took it to the marketplace and barter. I need this amount of cows. I'll give you this amount of sheep. I'm growing this amount of food. You can have this. And so there was a form of bartering system, and that's what's called commodity money. Commodity money could be colored seashells, ornaments, unusual stones became commodity money. Cattle, sheep, corn, wheat, certain other foods became commodity money, depending on what geographic area were you at. In the beginning here in the United States, it was like that, commodity money. Then you got what they call, and when I talk about the metals and stones and talking about gold and silver, that was commodity money in the beginning. Then you had what you call receipt money. Receipt money was because you had like what called a goldsmith. And that goldsmith was a person that had storage, because sometimes the more coin and gold and silver that a person attributed, was kind of hard to carry that stuff around you or to keep it safe. So they created the safe, okay, and they created storehouses where, in order to do business with other people, instead of carrying all this stuff with you, you put it with a goldsmith, and he gave you back a receipt. Now you can at any time take that receipt back and get your gold back or your precious metal back, at any time. But that was receipt money. That was practice. That came into practice because people didn't want to carry this stuff. So they that's where you get the what do you call that? Appraisal. That's where you get that from. And saying this is your worth, this is what you got, this is the receipt. Okay, you can come pick it up, if you need to pick it up, what I'm saying, to change it to another storehouse. Because these were storehouses, these were goldsmiths, they had their storehouses. And that's where that was a forerunner of the check. A check is a receipt. A check. That was the first form of a checks, because the person walked around with personal check, because what they were able to do is they were able to write off, they had the receipt, and they were able to endorse it to a third party, somebody else. They were able to exchange that receipt. They didn't have to exchange. They didn't have to go get the gold and then bring the gold, and that person had to go. No, it all happened through receipts, and that's where you get the check from. What I'm saying? The forerunner of the modern check, what you call today, checks. So you have the commodity money, then you have what they call receipt money. Then what you have, what you call fiat money. Fiat money is money that doesn't have any value. It's not based on no specific value like gold or whatever, or silver, any of that. It's not backed by any valuable asset, commodity. It's not backed by it. What it is a ledger. In other words, what fiat money created was by your promise to pay at a future. You know what I'm saying? So legal tender came in, whereas it's not backed by anything. It's just you are now a entry in a ledger. And the minute you sign that ledger, you created the money, the fiat money. The minute you sign it, your signature is the endorsement. And so the money was created out of that. And this is a system, like I said, it's not backed by any value at all. It's not. That's a fiat system. It's just entries in ledgers. And that also leads me to fractional money is another one. So you have commodity money, receipt money, fiat money, and then you got what you call fractional money, which is if a lot of the goldsmiths, what they started doing is they started loaning money against the gold that wasn't even there. It's almost loaning is like stealing. Is because they were using in the storehouse the idea that I have this here, but I'm going to loan you paper receipt. I'm going to loan you money, paper receipt that is loaned to you, and you have to pay me a fee back for loaning you something that is not even theirs. Doesn't belong to them. But they did that. That was a practice called fractional money. Was able to that worth was able to be fractionalized into different entities and different people. So that's another practice. And a lot of times it also dealt with ledger. You know what I'm saying? Is that your promise to pay, and usually it's that fee, what they call where they get the taxes from. It's a fee that you pay for using this system. I hope I'm making myself clear. That's the origin of money. You know what I'm saying? How money changed through time. You know what I'm saying? But the most important thing in for the sake of this conversation, because we're gonna go real deep into that. There's a lot of good read on that. You got to read the redemption processes, whatever the redemption. I read it. I got it somewhere around here. But it speaks about the history of money and how money was created, and the Federal Reserve, that corporation, and it speaks about a lot of things of knowing how things were set up. And those things now are done with. Banks lost a lot of money. The banks are hurting, because of this whole COVID-19 initiative. I call platform, has changed the very life we live. As a matter of fact, it's the mark of an ending of a dynasty that operated in what this money that we were talking about, especially the fiat money. A lot of people think that this global reset, the global currency reset, that's false, it's a hoax or whatever, that it's not really in the global. But they don't understand that the US dollar, globally, the US dollar has lost its value. All you have to do is just go into different look up different countries and their monetary system and their exchange formula, and you see that the US dollar doesn't hold weight like it used to, that fiat. So the whole global currency reset is about bringing back into gold and silver, that gold that they have stocked in these underground bunkers and in the Philippines and other areas. They have this stock of gold which belongs to humanity, which is to reset everything and reset all the economy, so they have something that is backed up by, You know what I'm saying? It's a system. It's a system that they created, and it's a system that have failed or is going through a reset, just like Earth is going through a reset. The cosmos is going through a reset. Our economical system, everything is being reset. You know, 2021 is going to be a trip. That's when you're going to really find out a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's when we're really going to see our eyes are really, really going to be forced to be open. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole different paradigm, a whole shift. We won already. It's just now everyone else has to get in place. Everybody else got to do catch up. But we won what they call the critical mass. We won. This system has failed. They're just trying to get an extension. They're just trying to, you know, trying to revamp themselves, but they're done. Done. You got the military on our side. You got other countries that are like, hey, this system, cabal system, 10,000-year-old system is done. But this thing about money, it's part of that. You know what I'm saying? And it affects our root energy in your body because everything is spirit. We're talking about this energy within ourselves. So we have to stabilize that. We have to stabilize it in whatever forms of fashion. We have to first we have to get in our mind that foundation, that support. The foundation is the earth energy, and that deals with genetic blueprint. It deals with ancestral pattern. It deals with that to solidify the earth. That root chakra is the support system, like a skeleton supports. You know what I'm saying? And that has to be also. You will see it that has to be balanced. You will see it'll balance itself once you get just one of those. So as we go through the energy center, just so you have to just choose one. But if you're going to choose the root, that means you're going to choose to eat healthy, eat genetically, eat healthy, and also know about the system, economic system around you so that you can gain your shelter too. Because the most important thing in life is what? Shelter, food, and clothing, right? They say that's the most important things in life right now. To learn to survive. You have to survive. You got to have shelter too, because in order to survive, you got to have territory in order to survive with shelter. The rain, from the cold. Your shelter is very, very important. And then food is very important, the gaining of the food. You know what I'm saying? Also that not only eating healthy, but consider and finding agricultural centers. People that are growing food, farms or whatever, and getting in touch with them. Or if you have land, that. So that's another energy that has to be strengthened. Another energy that has to be strengthened. And that's just your survival. Survival. You know what I'm saying? And when that's balanced, you know what I'm saying? And that's being taken care of, all the other centers become taken care of also, you know, because then you start finding out how the earth, the genetic blueprint, all that, how that starts revving up in yourself. And you start doing things and you say, wow. And when you start speaking to people, they did the same thing. Oh my, like, why do I like this type of food? Because that's genetically handed down. So that's important. You know, so when you deal with so we talk about money and the different forms of money, and everything is when you look at this different form of money, then you see what practices you know are existing and which is more favorable for you. You know what I'm saying? And then you know food was more favorable for you, and then the shelter. Also, when you deal with shelter, you want to deal with shelter that is safe, the right neighborhood, the right shape, safeness. That's important because that's if you notice how people that live in areas that the shelter is not so safe, the environment, where they live, poverty exists in there, they're not really attaching themselves to genetic blueprints or ancestral patterns. They don't care about that. They don't care what they eat. You're in different places in poverty, you see these chicken shops and these Burger Kings and McDonald's and all that, and where they eat, and you're like, wow. But you go to certain neighborhood where they invested in their ancestral and eating healthy, and they know the ancestral blueprint and everything, and ancestral patterns and genetic blueprint. Um, you see the lifestyle, the shelter, the neighborhood is different. The vibe is way different, way different. So for those who have to take, for those who wants to change their paradigm, wants to change their lifestyle, that's very important. You can start off by not eating certain things and create and learning about your diet and learning about the diet of your ancestors, you know, and your DNA and diets that go with your DNA and whatever, and getting that in line. And then you see how that'll open up the doors for other things. You're gonna think different. It's gonna lead you to another place. You know what I'm saying? You know? Or you can take that territory where you at, the hood, and transform it into something beautiful. A garden. I seen that happen in areas in Brooklyn. Transformed areas that were the hood and terrible. They transformed that area. You know, and I'm not only talking about regentification. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people in that neighborhood who woke up and decided to change things, the way they eat and what stores are allowed to be in that neighborhood. Okay, form as an association, take control of their territory, their environment, and their shelter, food, and their economics. That's dealing with the root. That's a support system. That's gonna open up other channels. You know, that's gonna open up. Anyway, I want to leave it there. What I want to do is part two is really go into the whole money situation, and ideas that I'm happy to working with. That's helping me. Ideas. Matter of fact, I got a meeting with my banker. I want to sit down with him and try to, come up with more plans or whatever to try to just have that area of my life just covered. You know what I'm saying? So it can open up certain things. That's very, very, very important. You know. And remember when I said when you get in touch with your genetic footprint and all that, and you people like minded, they got real briefly. I'm gonna touch on something. It's called Susu. If anybody know what Susu is about, it's a system that Chinese people practice, Indian people practice, African. It's called the hand, and it's a system that a lot of times it has gotten a bad review where people try to compare it with pyramid schemes and stuff like that. And there's been some bad experiences. I know people personally that had bad experiences with that. But then I know people that had great experiences with that. And that's an ancient practice. When it's practiced the right way, when you have like minded people and you have people that are online, not people offline, people that are online and online with all their centers are being aligned with, you know what I'm saying? It creates a very favorable community where people are gifting each other and sharing gifting and maintaining their economics this way. I've seen it. I'm becoming involved with something like that, but I'm taking my time, you know what I'm saying, with it. But I'm going full force with it because I think it's very important, very, very important when you have people of like-minded, and then you spread it out to other communities, to your communities, when it deals with a lot of responsibility. And like I told my brother, freedom comes with a huge responsibility. You can't say I want to be free and sit back and not be responsible, because that's not freedom at all. Freedom comes with a huge responsibility, and that's very, very, very important. So we spoke about the earth. and how it reflects over to the root. And we talk about the root, the survival part of you that and so we're gonna go over the survival tactic. We talk about food, how important the certain food we eat and how that's in tune with genetic blueprint. And then we talk about money, how that's also connected to your genetic blueprint too, because like we said, culture, cultivating nature. Once you know your nature and you cultivate the nature, it opens up doors economically. Economically, it opens up doors. So that right there is the stability. That right there helps your survival mechanism. And it balances it. It puts it in full drive. So that's where we're gonna stay at. That's where we're gonna leave it at right now. And then part two, we're gonna go deeper into different banking systems, the trust accounts, UCC filings, and things like that. Yeah, I'll read from a book that I have, and we're dealing with this and how to navigate these waters, economic war, what they call the maritime waters, the bank, the currency of water, and the banks on the side manipulating or directing the currency. That's what the concept of banks come from. The bank of a river. You know what I'm saying? So it's maritime system, waters. You birth in water, birth, So we're gonna go through all that. Okay. So hey, peace. And like I said, man, I care for my planet. I care for you all. You don't know how much I care for you, you know, very, very much, you know, because we won already. This is it. We won. Now let's build. Let's build. We have triumphantly won. They're done with. Now it's time for us to step it up and create this this common unity. And let's like-minded people get together and let's get it popping. That's what I gotta say. We won. Now it's time to build. That's it. Let's build on it. Peace and blessings.